Hey everyone, welcome to this video. Today Bella and I are going to talk about Tantra as a lifestyle. And first of all, I have to say, yeah, this microphone solution is very funny. Like it looks like it's only a big black microphone and I'm like hiding behind it, but this is the solution I have to have now because of Wi-Fi struggles. So yeah, welcome to this video. We're gonna share about our own experiences and what does it mean, Tantra as a lifestyle? What does it mean to us, and what does it look like in our lives and also in our lives right now, maybe? And then we're gonna share some tips with you how you can live a more tantric lifestyle. So yeah. Bella, do you want to start?
Yeah, it's been hard for me this week to actually live a tantric lifestyle. And I think it is about the masculine and the feminine. I've been very busy and I have like calls back to back. And I'm so much in the structure so that I lose the flow and I lose the surrender and I lose the kind of acceptance. I really, it feels like I'm structuring my day so that there isn't a lot of time for flow, a lot of time for pleasure, a lot of time for just being. So I felt for probably for the last 10 days it hasn't been that tantric, and even because I always go to bed and I just fall asleep, but it's been hard to actually turn off my mind and go to sleep. So I know that I'm too much in my masculine, and as a woman especially being in my masculine, it takes away that juice, the tantric juice of my and even in the weekend I actually had an alarm set, and I went up and I was looking at some apartments. So it feels like I haven't really lived what I'm teaching this week. And I do feel like there is a bit of agitation in the air. Astrologically, we are in Aries gates. There is a lot of fire. There is a lot of initiation. There is a lot of individuation, kind of pressure on all of us to go out there and do it. So it's a funny thing and a good thing probably that we are actually putting the cards on the table this week, and that I get to kind of put myself in questioning why do I do this if I'm aware of it. Why do I accept this happening over and over again? That's where I am at this week, and kind of a little bit sad about being there.
Be more in your masculine and like doing. And do you know how you can change it?
I guess, yeah, I do have to create, I want to create space in my schedule. And I also, even that could be a tip, but I do want to create nights where it's like intimacy, that I schedule it in, that's what I want to do. Um, yeah, the worst feeling for me is to kind of be a machine that just works on the clock. So it is to value. And I think that's the thing with this world. Valuing doing is what we are programmed with. So every time I do, I'm like, oh my God, I did enough today. Feels so good. I checked off so many marks. And that is so
Mm.
non-tantric. So that,
Yeah.
no, that's not how I want to work.
check. Yeah. Yeah, I know, but it's also like it's also a nice feeling sometimes to feel like you actually have achieved things, like at least for me. But yeah, there needs to be balance, of course. I think I'm in an opposite space, like in the opposite, because I think this island, Bali, has a very strong feminine energy, and it kind of catches you and drags you in, so you can't even plan anything. I try to make plans with people to have breakfast, to have lunch, to have meetings. It won't work out. Like it doesn't work at all. Like something happens or I forget. Like on Wednesday, for example, I thought it was no, on Thursday I thought it was Wednesday, and I had missed something that was about to happen on Wednesday. It was all crazy. So I have actually surrendered a lot to my feminine this week. So the other day, for example, I was like, okay, I'm just going to listen to my energy. I'm just going to go with the flow. I woke up, I was super creative, productive. I went to work for a couple of hours, and all of a sudden, all my energy dropped. I lost all energy. I was sitting there at this co-working space, like, okay, this is it. I went home to sleep, to rest, and it was in the middle of the day, but I just allowed myself to do so. And then something, I don't know how it came to me, but I started thinking about twerking. and started researching like how to twerk on YouTube, and I watched all his tutorials, and I did like started to practice in my room and film myself twerking. And you know, that felt so good to be in that flow, just like following exactly what came to me and like follow my energy. But usually I'm more in my doing mode and like practical planning, checking boxes. But here it's a little bit different. um yeah. So maybe we can like share, like if we mix, we will create a balance, you and I, right now.
Yeah, I remember I was posting, I think it was last week, about Intimate Communion, David Deda's book. And I know in the introduction of that book, he says there are cities or places that are very feminine and others are very masculine. So he takes New York as an example that is very masculine, very do, very much achieving, and people are going to kind of push you into that. And then he's speaking about Hawaii as very feminine. And that's kind of like what you and I are living. I'm in Miami and you are in Bali. And here I think you can do both. So here I think for me,
Yeah.
don't really have anybody to blame, and that's good. It's always, our own choice. But I really feel like the water spirits and Bali for me, is what you're saying, and it's beautiful to be surrounded by that. And I think more of us would actually benefit from experiencing that.
Yeah, but it knocks you out though. Like it really forces you to move into the feminine in a brutal way, in a way. So it's a lot of, it's also chaotic, you know. It's also, it's not only easy, but I'm learning and I'm adapting. And for me, I think this week I've also been through a lot of anxiety and I've been feeling a bit down actually. And so to go through that in a tantric way is to me to allow everything and to try to stay present. And one thing for me was to try to go back to my body, because I felt all this anxiety, you know, inside the body and needed to move. So yoga helped, dancing, moving, because if it's just there, you know, it gets stuck. So it was a challenge. It's not, I'm not going to say it was easy, but yeah, it was like a tantric challenge to go through that in a sane and healthy way. So
I love
yeah.
that you're saying that, because sometimes you think the tantric is pleasure, it's beauty, it's sensuality, and really that chaotic, like the dark feminine, Kali, like there that is also part of the tantric, and to embrace even those, even the agitation, even the unease, even the anxiety. And I found myself like I couldn't get my truth across in a conversation, and it was like I have all these, there's almost like I refuse to live in a survival mode. Kind of like you moved away from Amsterdam because you couldn't live in the constriction. When somebody tells me that something is fucked up and it's going to stay like that, like I can't buy it. But there was no way of getting my truth across in the conversation. So then I found myself I was working out on my rebounder, like a trampoline. And then suddenly I started to make noise and be like, ah! And I was mimicking the energy of everything I was feeling. Like it was kind of being a crazy person, but it was so liberating because there was no way that I could speak it out. There was no way I could get my truth across. And it was so like helpless and despondent. So the only way I could do was to get the energy out. And then I felt like I felt kind of, in one way I felt exhausted, but in another way I felt invigorated. I'm like, this is what we should throw tantrums, and like I wasn't hurting anybody, but it was like that was the best way to play out that energy that was so erratic and fragmented. But then I didn't have to hold it in my body anymore.
Exactly. I love that. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think it's so important. Like, how can we move the energy, and how can we also use sound and the voice? You know, because it's like when we grow up, we are taught that it's not really appropriate to make all these sounds and or to scream or have tantrums. But I think we block a lot of things when we don't let it out that way. Also, singing can help. I started singing a while ago. I never sang really before. I always been like shy to sing, but now when I'm alone, sometimes I sing, and yeah, it's a nice feeling actually. Something is moving with that as well. So definitely tantric lifestyle, accepting what is, and moving the energy, I think, is the key, right? In different ways.
Yeah, and maybe before we go into the tips, I think it was Tuesday morning, I read a book called Why Am I Sick? And I've been working with the author of that book lately. And he said, let me take you through my process on Tuesday. So he did. And it was interesting because it was really like he was guiding me to do the work. So he was like, where do you want to go first? To your brain, to your heart, or your belly? And then I had to go there and I had to describe what I felt. And then he had me go to these places. And at the end of the whole thing, it's like it was me doing everything. And he said, it's taken me like 20 years to understand that I'm not the healer. I'm maybe a facilitator that is helping. And after we did that, and then it was like a little bit of a clearing procedure at the end, like that day, I had like a completely full schedule. But it was so interesting because there was like no motivation in me after to do anything. Like I was, and at night I was just like going to bed early. So I feel like there was a kind of reset, but it was my body that did it. It was like telling me what's here was there. And I just felt that's important because I know we know a lot of people and we work with clients. Like often I have this feeling like I have to do something for them. I have to like have the penny drop. But that in a way is also, pretending that we are guides or like facilitators are going to do something. There is something in the tantric way of trusting that just if we show up there, whatever is going to happen and have to happen in the energy field, in the shamanic field kind of thing that we are with the person, that's going to happen. So I could see for me like to sit more back and not trying to prove that I have to help you transform, but more to trust the energy to do the work and the person that has chosen themselves to show up and to to be. So that was something important. And for me, it was a huge thing that day. And then I felt normal the following day. But I really
Yeah.
saw that changed my perception of what I'm even here to do on a daily basis.
Wow, that's super cool. So was this some kind of technique, or like, what is
I
this?
think it's
Yeah.
called advanced clearing energetics or something like that. And it's, yeah,
Mm.
it's and I mean, when you read the book as well, like it's about every disease comes from a kind of freeze that happens from usually from some kind of trauma that was there, and then it's like you kind of learn to live around that, so it becomes a little bit like an elephant in the room, but that is a
Mm.
pattern that goes and goes for forever, so that it kind of becomes manifest as a disease even in your body. And I mean, I can't completely explain it, but it really felt like just by talking through it, allowing the body to speak, allowing to kind of see, yeah, it just felt like it was a little bit like a color, like it had pearls, and it felt like they just, or a domino, it felt like when once we were doing it, it just like, you know so I can't really explain it logically, but I know that it was powerful. And I know that at the end of the day, he was like, I was afraid he was going to tell me you're doing it wrong, because I was like,
Mm.
this is what I feel here, and this is what I was feeling like I was doing it wrong. But I guess that the body can't really do it wrong. And tantra, I mean, this is the probably a tantric lifestyle, you can't really do it wrong. I'm sure if somebody had seen me in my rebounder, like, this is a crazy woman, especially, I like sometimes maybe men are afraid for women's craziness, but this is the feminine in all of us. She's kind of crazy and we should be a little bit afraid of her, but at the same time, there is a power in knowing you can't do it wrong. The expression of the animal body and of the emotional body, it's not something that's ever going to be logical to our mind.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think that's a good point, that you cannot like think your way to a tantric lifestyle, or set up a schedule on what to do to live a tantric lifestyle. It has to come from within. That's what happened with me. Like, I'm pretty new in the tantric world, I have to say. I haven't been to a lot of workshops, but for me it's growing from inside. It's something, it's more an intuition and curiosity. So yeah, but saying that, there are still a few things you can incorporate in your life, or be aware of, or try to live a more tantric lifestyle, right?
Yay.
So
Yeah, let's go through the little tips that we
let's
had.
go through the tips. Yeah, so they're also on social media, on Instagram, on our Facebook group, and on our members community, right? So the first one is set a timer to pause every hour for a few minutes.
And
Yeah,
I
it's
kind
pretty
of like
simple,
to
right?
move, like you're saying. I like to get up and maybe shake, or do something, or even step outside, because just this change in temperature, it's like my system kind of has to adapt to something. So yeah, away from the share and the screen, and allow you, yeah, allow something different for your body, for your being.
Yeah, it makes a difference actually, because yeah, it's not healthy to be stuck on a chair in front of a laptop the whole day, like hour after hour. So take small breaks. Okay. The next one is become aware of your breath. Allow it to ground deeper in your body.
Yeah. I mean, I do Wim Hof most mornings, and that is kind of resetting. And I can feel like access places in my body I don't access otherwise. And Wim Hof is a method. So, of course, that is more pushing oxygen out to different parts of your body. So, that is a little bit more kind of an active way of accessing places. But I feel just with the normal breaths. And so many of us has the diaphragm that is kind of like, and what
Mm,
you're feeling, what you're saying, Anna, too, if you have a week with some anxiety, often your diaphragm is going to feel tight. So maybe sometimes even for me, laying on a tennis ball, which kind of feels like a little bit maybe extreme, but I would lay on the floor on the yoga mat and put a tennis ball between like my ribs, and just feel
mm,
the I can feel kind of the anxiety getting worse. But then if I can, then the same thing as if you have like a muscle that's hard and you push and you hold, you're going to feel like the muscle kind of opening up. So maybe I'm a little extreme, but these would be some of the things that I do in order to like really tap into my breath. Maybe you have some more gentle ways, Anna.
gentle ways. I think just a simple reminder to breathe down all the way to your belly is enough sometimes. Like, okay, and also relax your belly, like you let your belly completely relax and fall out. Because I tend to tense my belly a lot. I have to remind myself all the time, like, oh, there's no need to like hold it in or tense. So yeah, I do also Wim Hof sometimes. I think it's powerful. It's a little bit intense sometimes for me, but yeah, like a minute or so is usually enough to get more oxygen in the body, and yeah, feel more loose and nice and grounded. So yeah, that's with the breath. And you know, the breath is the only um from the day we're born to the day we die, the breath is there with us. It's the only thing that's consistent, that's always going to be there with us. So I'm listening to Think Like a Monk right now, the book. I don't know if you read it. And he says this, and he says like, why don't we teach breathing in school? Like breath is so connected to, you know, our emotions. When we get scared, when we get triggered, when we have anxiety, it affects the breath a lot, and yeah, health in general. So why don't we even teach that in school? So yeah, very good point. Okay, 3, make self pleasure part of your daily routine.
Yeah, for me, I've started mornings to not get up right away, but to really, I actually think I even wrote a post this morning. Like, I know that I'm
Yeah.
awake, but I'm kind of a cat. Like, I don't really open my eyes, and then either I purr or like I start to kind of feel, and then, sometimes I do have coconut oil, and I start, to kind of have that in the morning. To not schedule something maybe before 10 o'clock or before noon, to just know that you have that. And sometimes it can be a bath. So, but you have that morning routine that is part of self-care, but also, depending on how juicy you feel, you can kind of take it to peak pleasure, or you can just take it more to kind of a sensual cat-like feeling. But mornings is my
Mm.
new are my new like new discovered. I used to be like really much kind of the miracle morning, like get up at 6, have a routine, like do this and this and this, work out. And I think I even learned a little bit from you, Anna, last year when we were in LA, that you don't have that. So I don't have to like the first thing roll out my yoga mat and like starting my routine. I can also
Yeah.
just feel how it is to stay in bed. So that's my new
Oh, wow.
self-care, self-pleasure, self-indulgence routine.
Yeah, remember, I was always in the bed and you were already doing all your exercises on your yoga mat, and I was like, but I felt a little bit lazy. But yeah, I mean, it's nice that I could inspire you. Yeah, self-pleasure. Yeah, for me, then I cannot plan that, of course, but if I feel tuned into it, I allow it, like, wherever it is. Like if it's in the middle of my workout and I'm feeling a little bit sexy and sensual, and it can move into that. It actually happens quite often, because I think when you work out and you move, your sexual energy also starts to rise. So yeah, it goes hand in hand. Um, but I also want to say, it can be more like self-care. And for example, when you had a shower, like how can you dry your body in a more like caring and sensual way? How can you honor yourself and really be sensual and kind with yourself in the everyday um chores or habits that we have? So it doesn't always have to be self pleasure as masturbation or orgasms. It could also be more about sensuality.
Yay.
Okay, next one. Uh, okay, be open to something new in the intimacy with your partner. Okay, what could that be?
I mean, this I really think that so many of us get lazy, especially if we have the same partner and we kind of know what we like, we know what the partner likes, and we kind of say, I know that this is what you want, and like it kind of becomes like it's actually a little bit like a trap. When you know somebody, you kind of think that you know what they want and what they expect. So that's where I feel so important to just introduce something new. And what can that be? I mean, I love magic wands of different crystals and stuff, and also I'm not into kink, but I do feel like everything that has to do, I mean, submission domination for me, it's not, doesn't have to be kink. There's to be the predator and the prey. It's like part of like our experience as humans, as animals, to also play with that can be something. And just, I guess, I mean, even we say bring something new into the bedroom, but even bringing like that kind of pleasure outside the bedroom, whether it is on a beach somewhere where nobody goes, or it is I mean, I remember sometimes, I think we spoke about that when it was about creating a space. Sometimes when I come home and there, or when you go to someone, it's all set up somewhere else, like in, with, so there is, for me, there, the surprise of that, of the surprise of the, how do you say, what's the word in English? I mean, just to feel from my partner that I have thought a little bit extra. That is very, like, that is very cool for me. Like there's something new, and somebody that cares about me took, took the energy and time to prepare something different. That for me is amazing.
Yeah, yeah, lovely. So yeah, so this one was about intimacy, and of course intimacy can be so much. And actually the next tip is to try something new in the bedroom. So they like could be the same, but it could also not be the same, because I feel like intimacy could also be, how can you touch your partner in a new way, or in a new place maybe that you normally don't touch him? Or how can you look at him differently? How can you treat him when you're out at a restaurant together? It could also be those little moments of intimacy between you, that you like try something new, because I feel like we drop into the same way of touching, relating, talking. So intimacy can be so much. And it could also be like, what does it feel like resting your head on his lap, or the other way around? Like those things, it's also kind of intimacy. And in the bedroom, yeah, I think always have an open mind. And I think we create stories around what we like and what we don't like, because we do have our experiences. Yeah, it is good to be aware of your preferences and your own pleasure, of course, where you like to be touched and how much and how long. But also be open to new ways, new experiences, because I think there's a magic in that, when you, as a feminine, can fully surrender and trust and just feel. Maybe it's not like exactly what you used to, but how does this feel, and how maybe it will open up to something else. And yeah, I like those things. And yeah, I think I'm pretty good at inviting it. But I also have these stories sometimes about, no, it's not for me, it's not my thing. But okay, but what if I just open up to it? What if I just like try it with a playfulness and curiosity? Yeah. Okay, so those were the 5 tips to live a more tantric life. And yeah.
Yeah, feel free to add your tips, and feel free as well to share your experience, because that's what community is, for me at least, to be able to not only have us telling you what our experience is, but really to also hear what, that's how we learn, and that's how we discover more. So yeah, really an open invitation for you to share as well.
Yeah, because conscious connection is all about connection and sharing. So it's the whole idea. So yeah, okay, great. Thank you for watching, and please share your own tips, advice, or practices that you have that you think others can find interesting. And yeah, see you
Bye.
soon. Bye.